Sporting Lisbon needed a +2 goal differential against Borussia Dortmund, and that they did, by the way, 3-1, despite a late goal from Malen for Dortmund. Heath, Pearce, no Erling Haaland in the Champions League knockout stages. No Erling Haaland in the World Cup neither. It's just it's kind of annoying. How do you make no Dortmund? What do you make of that?
Yeah, it's weird to see a team like Dortmund with the youthful building of a roster deal with so much injury concerns, right? You usually don't have that in these younger squads because you have younger players, because you have this rotation of players. You tend to not see a number of players out, but this is a depleted Dortmund side that was just outmatched. It's odd because in the league, they're still keeping pace. I think they're within a point now of Bayern Munich in the league, but this is one that's got to hurt. Now, do I think that opens up an opportunity for them to focus on the league? Yes. Again, we've talked about this before. No player looks at a loss like this and goes into the locker room and goes, well, now I guess the good thing is we only have one thing to focus on, where it's like, no, you know, if you're a Dortmund, your odds of winning the Champions League aren't high, right? You know that you're probably going to be outmatched, but you want to challenge yourself against the best in Europe. You want that respect of saying, you know, but people, especially with American mentality, we're used to winners, right? But when you look at just the way things work in Europe, it's more like some American sports are, where it's, you know, teams fall short of that. Doesn't mean they're not successful. And I think Dortmund's a team that prides themselves in their ability to compete with others, but to not have Haaland in this and in the World Cup is a shame, because obviously this is one of the things that I was most excited about. Everybody was talking about getting into the new year, Haaland being fit again. Be great to see him on the biggest stage, knowing that he is when fit, one of the best strikers in the world already at his age. But unfortunately, they weren't able to do that, and they're dealing with so many injury issues that I just wonder where Dortmund goes from here, or if they even go into the transfer window thinking like we might need a little bit of help.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And we do a storylines to look out for in 2022 at the end of the year. And that's definitely going to be one, taking it from one way or another. By the way, without Erling Haaland, Borussia Dortmund have managed just 6 goals in 5 Champions League matches compared to 20 in 12 with him in the side. You know, that's 1.7 goals since his debut for the club in February 2020. That's how important Erling Haaland is. And surely that is it for Erling Haaland in the Champions League with Borussia Dortmund, I would imagine. Heath, Pearce.
Luis, do you think that this changes a valuation for him, knowing that he's been out, knowing you're not getting more games? Do you think that there's going to be teams of saying, well, I mean, it's a team sport, he can't control that, but do you think maybe this cools the transfer window or fee, or do you think this is still just like, yeah, but he's still super young? The results of the team or the fact that we won't see him in the spring in Champions League is not going to change that.
Maybe. It's a good question, but I actually think there's another reason for it, and it's because other players are coming into frame, like Dusan Vlahovic can be available for 70 million euros and 21 years old. Obviously, Erling Haaland is incredible, but we have Vlahovic, by the way, who's doing ridiculous things with Fiorentina. So maybe the competition pool during a time when Erling Haaland is out is now getting a little bit fuller. And to your point, you know, him being out and, you know, clubs can maybe look at different options right now. Nobody denies how incredible Erling Haaland is. I just think when a club is looking at where they can find the value for their buck, they don't all have to come running to the Norwegian star. There's plenty of attacking talent kind of all over the place, really.
Yeah, there's a lot of there. It mixes it up. And my question is whether or not that increase of the pool means teams look elsewhere for a different match of value, or if that pool in itself, knowing that you could get that for 70 million, starts to level things out a little bit to saying, yeah, but for half or less than half or whatever it's going to cost, we get this guy.
I guess it depends what club you are, right? If you're Manchester City, you're thinking to yourself, well, we got A, B, and C. If you're like what? Even Real Madrid, by the way, who obviously have Kylian Mbappe in their sights. It's all about the target that you have, but it's a really good question because Haaland being out for this long and showing how much a club needs him when he's fit will make a lot of people think. So it'll be an interesting 2022. There's a lot of players that are going to be available.
I can't remember, and maybe you don't remember either, Luis, and maybe Des can look it up. But what was the injury, and why is it this long? Was it something major? It seems. I mean, this is a multi-month injury to Haaland that when I again think about the risk to reward, I'm going back to American sports, thinking about the NFL and like no player, no matter what your injury is, and this is the harsh reality. You could lose 1% of what you with every injury, you're losing something that you cannot get back. You can get back to a high level, but you are still losing something, whether mental or physical, that makes that makes you not the same player. Again, you might not ever see that, but it is the reality. You can't just keep getting injuries, and I wonder how that affects teams and how they view him as well. Now, we've seen every player go through these injuries, but I'm just thinking about, like, if I'm Man City or I'm Barcelona or I'm Real Madrid. Okay, hip flexor strain. I had one of those. Those suck.
Yeah, no, I was gonna answer it. I believe that the original diagnosis was a hip flexor strain, but it just that wasn't. Not only was it not going away, it was getting worse. I guess when you're his frame and that mobile, it can be. I mean, you just said it. You've suffered from it, right? And when you're that big as Erling Haaland, it can. I mean, you're restricted so much from a mobility perspective. It's just tough. It's very difficult.
Yeah, it's interesting. And I had that my first week of college. I went into preseason, strained my hip flexors, and I was like, okay, well, I'm out. And it makes it where you can't even barely walk. And then I had that also when about 3 or 4 months into being with Hansa Rostock in the Bundesliga, I had the same sort of thing. And that put me out a longer period just because of the nature of, your body. They say the world's best athletes aren't best athletes. They're the best compensators, because when you have things, your body has to constantly rebalance and retinker itself. And he's a player that obviously is such a machine and so powerful that it actually worries people. We see this again in other sports where they go, well, he's built so perfectly that how could, like, his body has to function at such an elite level to do what he does and move at the pace that he does and cut and dribble and shoot and do all the things that he does better than everybody and more powerful than anybody, that you worry about, the pounding that his body's taking, and can it recover from that?
Yeah, and his father said a few days ago, by the way, if he gets a couple of games before Christmas, that will be a bonus, but even that's uncertain. So expect maybe that we won't see more Haaland in 2021, but the storyline for him will continue in 2022.
It's good to talk about him, by the way. It's good to talk about him. We haven't talked about him in a while, which sucks. He's my favorite. He's everyone's favorite player to talk about.